Awesome, awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm excited about this conversation, the role of representation and diverse voices in shaping product narratives. Our panelists are amazing in and of themselves, and you're going to hear from three different industries how they approach storytelling and making sure that those diverse voices are implemented as a part of their narrative. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with this conversation. So Evan, I'm going to start with you with the first question. So considering the critical role of trust in fintech, right, how do you believe diverse representation influences storytelling behind Credit Academy, and why is it important for your audience?
Yeah, for sure. So I think for me, it's always been about my why, right? So when I started this, I always say I'm not a financial guru. I was the person that turned 18, got a credit card right away and maxed it out, spent my 20s paying for it, right? It's probably a common story in here, right? Hopefully not. Hopefully everybody has like perfect credit, right? Just start out with 800. But because of that molds itself into like every single thing that we're doing, right? So as I learned things along the way, it was like it's important for me to say, hey, this happened to me. I don't want to have it happen to you, right? So people connect when they know that you're being human, and that's like important when you put that into your product. Everything from like the experience itself. Is it easy to understand where I sign up, right? Like, are you thinking about me as a user, or are you just trying to rush your product out there, right?
And that's important because I think people can tell, right, when it's not in alignment and when you're just doing something for the sake of doing something rather than something that resonates with you in your own personal story. When I heard your story, I thought about me in college, you know, seeing those college T-shirts and they're trying to get you to sign up for those credit cards, and I was like, yo, that's something right there, right? And definitely having that financial education that is lacking.
100%. I probably got like a slice of pizza for my first credit card. Who remembers?
Awesome, awesome. Second question, I'm going to shoot this over to you, Jillian. So given the impact of community trust and safety in transportation, how can you share how diverse voices contribute to shaping the narrative of CherRaye and how it resonates with your audience? Because I love your story.
Yeah, so CherRaye is a rideshare app, and so we have all women drivers. I used to drive for the other guys, and so my experience driving is what really drove me to create this company. That's why I do it. I love what I do, so I enjoy giving people rides, I enjoy meeting new people, and I enjoy that experience, but I didn't enjoy being on those platforms because I noticed there was a change happening. People weren't being paid fair. There were a lot of different concerns when it came to safety, and so that's what made me turn over and go into or create CherRaye. So yeah, it's really, 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 I don't know, it's really, really hard for me to put myself in that position. Like, me being the face of the company is very new. I didn't want to be the face of the company initially, but my story is the best story because it's authentic, because it's real, and so more people connect with it, and that's why it's been growing the way it's been growing. And I've been embracing it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I was looking at just the fact that the idea came just in you hearing from the customers and the women that were taking rides with you, and then just asking those questions and having that story, their story, right, kind of develop into, you know, a solution that you created.
Yep. They kept telling me that they rather ride with women, or they kept sharing all those different uncomfortable experiences they were having, and I was like, well, there needs to be something for women, and so I just decided to make it.
Awesome. I love it. So we're going to continue on with CherRaye. So focusing on the beauty tech, right, and the demand for authenticity when it comes to identifying and trusting, you know, recommendations and individuals that are actually going to be, you know, working on someone's face or hair or whatever it may be, right? Very close and intimate spaces. What strategies have you implemented to ensure that diverse representation for Brown's narratives, and how has it impacted your brand's connection to your audience?
Yes, great question. So I use a couple of strategies. I would recommend to anyone, number one, make sure the team that you hire reflects that brand. So also that covers a diverse, you know, realm of different perspectives. For example, I am a cisgender straight woman, black woman. I do not represent everyone under the black diaspora. So I want to also work with people who are transgender. I want to work with people who are men, or people who are non-binary, because what I saw from research was that those experiences are different too. They may be uncomfortable going to a straight male barbershop, or they may feel more like, to Jill's point, they often want to go to a woman who's a barber or salon. So I think with first starting off, you need to make sure that your team understands diversity and believes in it. And then also another strategy I've employed is just speaking. A lot of times, especially when it comes to product, people are scared to talk to their customers. And for me, I think with creating a product that, I try to stay away from using the word users. I try to say humans, because that's who are using the app. And I want to make sure that we're showing up as authentically as possible and everyone feels centered, feels like the app is centered around them. So building the diverse team, and then also just talking to the customers as well.
Yeah, I love that, because the common thread between all three individuals up here and your businesses is that, either it's a personal experience, it came from hearing from your customers directly, and also from team, and just, pulling in various, voices, representation is not just, it's so layered, right? Representation is so layered from external to internal. So we're going to shift gears into authenticity and challenges. So this is a question for the entire panel, so whoever wants to answer first. So how do you each navigate the balance between authentic representation and then avoiding stereotypes when shaping product narratives?
I'll go first because my product is very niche. My service is very niche. Avoiding stereotypes, can't really avoid those because all the drivers on our platform are women. So any stereotype that you can throw at us, we've already heard it. We've gone viral on social media multiple times. And so everything that, we just take it with a grain of salt. We use it really as a teaching moment. And so when people leave just those negative comments, we just actually respond back in a positive way and be like, actually, we respond back with numbers. I'm like, actually, 40% of women in Atlanta actually prefer to ride with women drivers. So, this service is something that is needed. That's what I've been trying to do now, is just turn it into like a teachable moment and just let people know, like, hey, there is there is a demand for our service. There is a reason why it is like this. I think the biggest thing that people say about us, they're like, well, what would happen if somebody started a his ride? I'm like, start one and see. Start one and see. So yeah, I just tell people, I just try to encourage those naysayers and stuff like that. I just try to educate them. I don't really go back and forth with them. Me personally, just trying to remain authentic. I think that's been my biggest struggle. I'm a very direct, blunt, bold individual. I'm a very opinionated individual. And so I have to be able to not dial it back, but just understand what's necessary to respond to and what's not. And so that's been my biggest learning curve, and it's been going pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's been going pretty good. So it's not that bad.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say as you know, there's a lot of stigma around Black beauty in general. So I know when I started this app that I was going to have to show up, and part of that is making the storytelling very authentic and not tying to negative stereotypes, such as, and it can even be stuff like creating your social media content. And sometimes I've had people, there was somebody who was trying to work with me with creating the social media content, and I just saw their style and I said, this doesn't reflect the brand. It was kind of geared towards the Shade Room kind of brand, and that's not what I wanted. No shade, no pun intended. But I didn't want the whole, women who wear wigs they have bald heads, and I didn't want that type. So, and that's part, contributing to, the stigma of women who wear lace front wigs and, just that negative stereotype. And I wanted Browns to be something that empowers us, that uplifts us, We're not a monolith, and I know that's pretty much of a cliche, but we have so much, the beauty of us is just being able to embrace so many different hairstyles, and just how we, our culture shows that. And so I want to, make sure that our storytelling is very authentic, not, doing the typical, sassy, whatever, I don't want to, contribute to that. So I think it sometimes does straddle line because you do want to make sure that, you're showing up and the tone of voice is authentic, but you have to be careful with that gray line. And then I recommend just like maybe talking to a DEI consultant to make sure like, hey, are we showing up okay?
I would say for us, we focus on using language as a company, right, that's like large in scale, but our go-to-market shows up in areas where we want to target, right? So like we built this for low to moderate income families, right? The everyday person that says, hey, I understand that credit, if I had a better credit score, it would be better for me overall. I'd be able to potentially obtain that home I want. I'd be able to potentially get a loan or line of credit to start my business. But we say we're building a financially free future for all, right? But where are we marketing, right? Like we're showing up in the barber shops, right? Like we're showing up in local community and talking about these things. So when it comes to who actually starts to use and adopt what we do, we end up reaching our audience without having to like pigeonhole us by like using a specific language to say, hey, we're building it for this particular segment.
Nice, and that actually leads into the next question, which is thrown at you, about creating culturally relevant products and how inclusive storytelling contribute to appealing to a broader audience, right? So you're solving a problem that's affecting cross generations, ethnic. It doesn't really matter. It's financial literacy, education around credit. Can you talk a little bit about how you see that transference across a broader audience, right?
So there's over 90 million adult Americans that are credit challenged, so that's almost a third of the population. And we just surpassed $1 trillion in U.S. credit card debt for the first time in history, right? So it's not a small problem, right? Like it's a huge thing. I think in terms of like how we address it is we need to really we try to be the vitamin and not the pain pill to really addressing this, right? So like what we do, just to kind of level set on what Credit Academy is, we offer a suite of financial wellness products to help educate about credit. 12 and under, we have a product called Kitty Credit, where we teach about credit through chores and missed chores like missed payments. And then we have a financial literacy platform, which is like Duolingo for finance. So what we do is we say, okay, where is that person in their journey? Are you 7? Are you 15? Are you 25? And then we tailor it to you. So that way, if you have an introductory experience to credit to where you understand, you're not having to learn through experience and mess up. And so it's basically just trying to meet folks where they're at, and that goes into how we think about our product. Like, where would a 7-year-old be? Where would a 15-year-old be? Where would a 25-year-old be?
And I'll ask the same question to you too, Jillian. Like, as you are growing CherRaye and you're looking to expand into other markets outside of Atlanta, what does that look like when it comes to the different layers of representation of women across the board?
Yeah, so women are everywhere. Yeah. So that's number one. So it's not hard to find where our services are needed. It's really about, for us, it's really about not taking over, but entering a space or a market where public transportation isn't really the first option. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. MARTA sucks, like point blank period. It sucks. It's like our train thing is like a T, so it doesn't really go anywhere in the city of Atlanta for real. So you have to use a car. A place like Houston as well, you have to use a car. It's such a big city that you have to use a car. So we're going to be focusing actually on the markets, the big city markets where public transportation isn't that first option. Yeah,
that's great. And you as well, CherRaye. So when you talked earlier, you spoke about having the right team, right, to make sure that as you all are doing outreach, that you have a barometer, right, to check against, to make sure that you all are doing and saying and reaching out to the right audiences in the right manner. So for you, what challenges, as you're reflecting on your journey where you are now and kind of where you're looking forward to go in the future, what difficulties have you encountered in promoting diverse representation in your narratives, and how have you worked to overcome those?
Well, just Brownton itself. Do you think that you should have an app that's just specifically for black and brown people? And I got that a lot in the beginning. And then, I'm a research person. I just hit them with the facts. We're more likely to travel further than non-black counterparts to get our hair done. We are, and McKinsey did this study in 2022. We are 3 times more dissatisfied with our hairstyling services, our makeup services, and skincare. Those are facts. You can't beat that. So, I always try to, and then also I have my own personal experiences of growing up, and just like the different negative comments I've had about my hair, growing up. So that's more qualitative data. Experience is qualitative data. So I always go back to, making sure people understand that, what are the values of Browns and the why behind it, and then also just the research to back up like why, I started this. And so the way I, overcome that is just by explaining it, walking them through, and then also doing a demo of the app. Like once people walk through it, they see, they're like, okay, I get it. I can, you can basically match me to someone with filling out the different filters, the different, and then you can do a quiz, so we can match you with someone based off of like what your results are. And it's addressing an equity issue. In 2022, we spent over $8 billion on beauty services. Yeah, I know, yeah, cosmetics, all that. And we represented 12% of the overall beauty market. Black beauty brands only saw 2.4% back.
Wow.
That's a fact. So as you can hear, all the facts I'm, spewing right now, clearly this is solving a pain point. And so no one can, what's the number one rule in marketing? Product market fit. And I'm solving a problem and I'm addressing a pain point.
Yep.
Love it. I love it. Product market fit. And it's a part of that product market fit is connecting to your why, which you've heard all 3 of our panelists say today, understanding and knowing what their why is. That research is going to be highly important. So making sure that you are taking the time out to carve out time to research your industry, your market, competitors, all the different nuances that you will need to be able to make the best informed decisions, and also to see where the gaps are. And then also continuing to stay connected to your customers, right? Because their journeys are going to be very different. They may look the same, they may have similar backgrounds, but their experiences, whether it's, the jobs that they've had, how they grew up, not just, gender, age, and race, but those other nuanced experiences that are part of diverse representation in the room and voices. And so just wanted to kind of wrap some of those conversations up for some takeaways for the audience. So as you're taking notes and you're going back and you're applying some of this information and takeaways, we'll have a few more as well, in your business, that you are thinking layered in that approach. And so this next round of questions is really going to be about sharing some examples, some real-world examples, and then a future vision. And so this first question is for each of you. Could you each share a specific example of how diverse representation enriched the storytelling and impact with your companies, basically? So I know you speak to investors. You're not only just speaking to your customers, but you're also in front of investors as well. And so, I'll let you go first.
I'll go. This actually isn't about the investors. The signage going up for the airport was the game changer for us. So we are the 3rd rideshare company to be approved at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta Airport. Before that, it was just Uber and Lyft. And so, thank you. Yes. Thank you. So in Hartsfield, in Atlanta's airport, when you land and you head to the rideshare section, there is directional signage in the airport that says rideshare, and then it said Uber and Lyft's name on it. When we got approved at the airport, the very first thing I said was, hey, when you guys gonna change the signage? That was back in July 2023. So they told me that, we're gonna change it. They're always doing construction at the airport, by the way. It's never ending construction. They've been doing construction for the last 20 years at the airport. They're like, we're doing construction right now, and they're gonna change it or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait. November came and that was travel season and our signage still wasn't up there. And I said, okay, so we're about to miss the entire travel season, holiday season. Cool, no problem. I developed a plan in January. I said in January, if our signage isn't up, my plan is going into effect. And so I actually use social media. Social media is the tool that I use on my side. I'm big on Twitter. And so what I actually did was I took a picture in front of the signage where our name wasn't there, and I was like, hey guys, don't you think CherRaye's name should be up here as well? Like, we paid our money for our permit just like Uber and Lyft did. Shouldn't our name be up here as well? In about an hour, the airport DM'd me on Twitter to let me know that they were working on it behind the scenes. But for me, it wasn't fast enough because putting a sign up, that was like just a sticker change. I was like, this shouldn't take 6 months to put a sign up. So we need to get this rolling. It was February, and I still didn't see anything. It was the first week of February. I actually was coming back from somewhere, and I didn't see the name on the signage where they said that they were putting it at, because we were going back and forth through emails for like months, guys. Like, it wasn't just a one and done type of thing. They kept telling us it wasn't in the budget. I told them, oh, we'll pay for it. Like, I will find the money. We'll pay for it. And we get to the top of the escalator. I'm literally recording a video to tell my co-founder to email them, because I'm like, send them this exact video that I'm saying. I was like, because there's no sign, I don't see anything. They're like, basically they're lying, and I'm about to go to the news about it. I get to the top of the escalator. Our signage was up there. It's the best Black History Month gift I've ever gotten. But they put the signage up there because they realized that this particular founder is someone who is very vocal, someone who is, there's
As a community?
I have a community that backs me, and so they realized that and they honored it. And so, and not only is our name on the signage, but our name is first.
First, I was going to say, yeah.
If you ain't first, you're last. So that is that was a big, huge overcome for us, and it was great.
I love that. And I was on your social. So what? Tell them your social again so they can go see this firsthand, because it's on their social.
Yeah, so it actually is on this whole storyline is on my Twitter. My Twitter name is now Jill B. Gates. So it's like Bill Gates, but Jill Gates. So Jill B. Gates. That's my Twitter name.
And B is for been about that money. I've
Been
been
getting
doing
money.
my research. I've been getting money.
Been getting money.
Awesome. I love that story. But it shows the power of showing up and still having to create space in spaces that may not also always be inclusive of diverse voices and representation, right? So even when you do create your business, you're still going to have to go into spaces and champion diverse voices, whether it's with your company that opens up the door for others to come behind. So thanks for sharing that story.
No problem.
And so Evan and
So first off, congrats.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Next time I go in Atlanta, I'll be like, oh, where?
Oh, yeah.
So she speaks to community, and we talk about storytelling and community, and they're one and the same, right? Like, you're not gonna form a community if nobody knows your story, right? And then even if they know your story, but they don't feel that it's like truly yours, they can't connect with you to advocate the way that they're advocating for you to be like, no, like, look, we flying out of Albany, you know what I mean? Or we're driving to Savannah to leave. We're not going to Atlanta anymore, because you build that sense of like belonging to your product. So like, you can do that through your personal story, or it could be through your product, right? So just make sure that you have a strong use case that you're developing for it. You can add things as you go, but it's like your product, the first 10 people, like, who do you want it to be? And build everything like around that. And you don't have to assume, you can actually just kind of ask and you'll figure out who those 10 people are. But like, your storytelling goes into the way you design your product, and your community, if you build it well, they'll speak for your product for you, and that'll be, how you'll get the majority of your customers. So.
anything to add?
Yes, so there's a couple of examples that come to my mind, particularly when I designed all the screens in the app. So, and I was very intentional of like how I designed it, and was, I wanted the user experience to reflect kind of like a virtual and real life experience as much as possible. And I know two things that have had the most, the hugest impact. The one feature that we have is called Shop Talk. And none of my competitors have it. If they watch this, they probably will try to build it. It's fine. But so that's our in-app community forum where people can ask questions, reply to other questions, get advice, and it's a really good way to build that sense of community, because I do think, and there's been conversations about this even on social media, about the lost art of connection in beauty salons. And so I wanted to create a space where, all the humans on the app can, talk to one another, ask questions. People ask questions about like, does anybody know what type of wax I can use for my locks? Or, And I just wanted to build that, sense of belonging and trust again, and not just make it so one-dimensional and just a transactional app. Like, okay, it's a marketplace where I could just find a beauty professional. No, I wanted to really hone in on that experience and take it the next mile, and just for people to say, I'm going to go on Browns and ask this question. And so that's one thing that has had a huge impact, and I can tell that has, because user acquisition is not the issue. It's also user engagement. So, that was the bridge right there that had, once people sign up, okay, now I'm going to keep going back because now I can continue to build, rapport with one another. And then also, all the people on the app can message each other. It doesn't matter if you're a beauty professional or a client. And then recently, we expanded our genders list. And I thought that was just a simple, you should do that. We have, demigender, we have, transgender male, transgender man, all that. And then someone reached out to me directly. They said, I am transitioning, and, that you're the first app that has said that this is important, and, I actually felt seen. And he shared it on his social. He has a big following, all that. He shared it to his community as well, and he said, just coming from someone from the transgender community, people often and he was like, you're the first business. There's he said, I work with large corporations, and they have this has been coming up with so much resistance. People don't see why we should go beyond the binary genders. So it just, you can be really making an impact off of something very small, and then that can make people, that's what helps the brand loyalty part as well. So.
And it shows with the intentionality that you build your business and the community, right? Because you build it with intention, and you get the right customers, the right individuals in that helps to support and champion the organization as well and what you're doing, because they resonate with the why and the impact, the greater impact that you're creating. And so as you're thinking and creating your businesses and thinking about your narratives and thinking about your audience, because you said during the pandemic you spent some time really focusing in on
Yes.
Your audience and who you really wanted to focus in on.
Yes, I wanted to go beyond the one-dimensional piece, and that's also going beyond the stereotypical, what you picture a black person being. It's beyond just being even Black American. There are people from other, countries with high black populations coming to the U.S. Also different experiences, and I wanted that to be reflected. I didn't want it to be the typical okay, man, woman. I live in, the city. I wanted it to be beyond that, because we're not just that. We have Black suburban people who grew up in the suburbs. We have, Black people that grew up in the inner city. We have Black people who also come from affluent backgrounds. We cover all the spaces, and I wanted to make sure that was being conveyed when people log in. Even there's this feature called the Tenderhead level. So when you sign up,
That's dope. Now,
people
that's dope.
really love that feature.
Yeah, that's a dope feature.
So when you're signing up in the registration process, we ask you your first name, profile picture, location, all that, and then the next question is, from a scale of 1 to 10, you have to assign your Tenderhead level, and then that'll be on your profile, and then you can answer. Then we have a question bank of 20 questions. You have to choose 3 prompts. So just so when people visit your profile, they can get an understanding of you and build a connection.
No, I love that. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about the journey as we get closer to wrapping up. So we don't always get it right the first time. Mm-hmm. So can you share in those instances as you've been building your businesses and as you've been going out, just for people so that they don't get discouraged around when you fail and you're having to learn from those experiences. Can you share some of that journey with us?
Yeah, I'll start. So when I built this, naively, I was like, every parent will want to teach their kids about credit. So as soon as it's out there, everybody's just going to use it and I'll be a billionaire. You know what I mean? It's not the case. So in order to get there, we realized we had to find a way to stay on mission, but monetize differently, right? So our core audience is financial institutions, and to narrow it down even more, we do a lot of work with credit unions. I didn't build this for credit unions when I had it in my head. So I think that the thing to like stay true to is like why you built this thing, but be very open to the fact that how you get there can drastically change. And the one thing that's important to note as a founder is that you have to be open to change, but you also have to be able to like stand on your own too at times to be like, no, I don't believe in that. Like, so I hear you on 80% of what you said, but 20%, absolutely not, right? And having that type of like rigidness but flexibility, which is like a very, like you can't really describe kind of what it is, but it's important like when it comes to investing, right? Like there's investors that like you just don't want to take any money. Somebody's saying, hey, I'll give you $500,000, but you can tell that they're there to fundamentally change everything you believe in on the business. Don't take that money. I know it sounds super hard to say, but I assure you don't take the money.
Don't.
Right? Like, especially in the early days, right? Because you want people that are, don't live in a vacuum, right? Like we talked about, like having people that are like-minded, but if you just have everybody where it's like the vibes are the same and everything, you have like a cult. You don't have like a business. So like have different ideas and perspectives in the room, but that end mission at the end of the day, right? Like saying, hey, we want representation in beauty. Like, hey, we want to make sure that women feel safe when driving. Like, however you get there will change, but that overarching mission stays the same. So I just think that's like a super, like, important thing. If I could say anything, this like, you don't have to pay attention to anything I said, but like focus on that is like, don't change the mission, but be very open to like how you end up getting to the end goal.
I was very good. The only thing I could say off of mine is that the mistake I made at the beginning was trying my hardest not to be the face of the company. I'm on my third co-founder right now, and I'm on my third co-founder now because I was trying to make those former co-founders the face of the company when it should have been me from the jump. So that was the one mistake that I made, because the story resonates off of my experience and my story so well, no one else can tell it better than me. The second thing was I kind of did the same thing you did. I was like, oh, when I drop the app, everybody's gonna sign up. Everybody's gonna,
all
it's
women.
gonna,
We using her ride.
It's gonna,
it's over.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I also dropped my app in March of 2020. Everybody knows what happened then. So that clearly didn't happen. So I had to pivot extremely fast. And so what I did was focused on community, focused on building just the community, getting people to sign up, and like not even on a wait list type thing because our app was done. So I was like, I need y'all to download the app, sign up, and at least make accounts. How am I gonna do that if they can't use the app? And so I got really, really creative on social media. We went viral on social media for the first time, and like 7,000 people signed up. And so people have been consistently signing up since then. But yeah, those were the two mistakes that I made, was thinking that everybody was just gonna sign up right then and there, realizing that Atlanta was extremely big, and so when drivers did start to sign up, I had drivers that lived in Marietta, but a lot of my ride requests were coming out of Clayton County. That is like an hour drive. Like no one is going to pick that up, no matter how much money it is. No one's going to drive and risk, being in traffic for that.
Atlanta.
Yeah, so that's when I had to focus and shift my focus to the airport, because I'm like, okay, if I can get all my drivers to just focus on picking up from one location, then we can just work our way out from there. And so those are my really three things. But yeah, those are it.
I've made many mistakes so far. I probably made one last week and just forgot about it. But I'm always messing up. But and the reason why I can laugh about that now is because my biggest mistake was my intensity with perfection.
Yeah.
If you are someone who has an app or a product manager, you know what I mean by that. I took so long, and also my business was originally supposed to launch in 2020, but nobody was going to the salon. Well, some people, but I was not advertising people to go to the salons during this time, so that pushed things out. And but one thing that I definitely struggled with, and my brother's in the audience, and he can tell you this too. I did not market it. I was so scared to push this thing out, and because I'm like, oh, I don't have this yet. I need to improve this. There's bug issues here. Mm-hmm. This part doesn't make sense. There's a glitch in the payment processing part. I just said, oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna work on the SEO strategy later. I'll just do my Google ad campaign later. And I just kept pushing it out, and then until I just had to like jump into the water and just do it.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing for me is that any feedback you get, if somebody tells you you're trash, like this sucks, this and that, I got a scathing email even just last month, and I'm like, we could have just worked this out if you just asked me.
Right.
I said, are you having a hard time putting in the OTP code? Here, it's working now. Okay, But I would say, like, any feedback you get is free research.
Yep.
Someone took the time out of their day to come to you and say, hey, this is crap. I don't like it. This button isn't working. You're trash. And you're fine. You can call me whatever you want. That's fine. But you just helped me save money now.
Yep.
Because now I don't have to put a survey up on Qualtrics and target, different market segments and spend thousands of dollars. You helped me out. And, I'm just saying that, to give you all encouragement to know, like, just put it out there. And then guess what? If people are coming back saying, hey, there's a bug issue here, just have your mobile app development teams, hey, just have a backlog. This is an issue. And just have a communication plan. People like transparency. And pretty much as long as you tell them, like, thank you for coming to us. Sometimes I give, like, an incentive, like, oh, thank you for coming to us. Here's a gift card. And then they're like, oh, she cares about us. Like, actually, yeah, I'm going to use this. Yeah. I usually give, like, a Target gift card, whatever. I ask them what their choice is. I'm like, what's your choice? Sephora? Okay, fine, go. But, definitely, don't be scared to just put the product out there.
Yeah.
I bet you Uber has glitches right now
They do.
in their app.
They do.
I said that on purpose.
They do.
StyleSeat does too. So, and these are big multi-billion-dollar companies. There's always going to be issues. So, just to wrap up my point, just put it out there.
I just want to add, because you bring up a super great point, is ask people why it sucks.
Yeah. Don't be scared.
That is like one thing. Like, I love your app. I'm like, thank you, but I'm more interested in why it sucks. Mm-hmm. So like when you're very in tune to why your product sucks, like you build a so much better product. So like, yeah.
I love it. Well, that concludes our panel. We want to thank you, Evan, Jillian, CherRaye, for your time. Can you share real quick where they can follow you at on your social to keep up with you?
Sure. So it's Evan Leaphart, EvanLeaphart. It's my first name, last name on Twitter, Instagram, or just look me up on LinkedIn. Happy to connect.
I can be found on Instagram at The Real Jill Gates, and then on Twitter, I already said Twitter, Jill B. Gates. And then if you just want to follow the HerRide page, it's Get HerRide. So HerRide has one R in it, one R. GETHERIDE.
And I do have a TikTok page, but I'm not active, so there's millennial, sorry. So you can find me on Instagram at my first name, CherRaye_official. And then on LinkedIn, if you type in CherRaye, it'll pop up. There's not that many CherRayes out there. So I'm happy to connect. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And then for Brownce, it's Brownce app, so BROWNCE.